COVID has made the risks of the pandemic clear, and many parts of the world witnessed its deadly consequences. So governments need to act quickly and decisively now to get ahead of the growing H5N1 flu public health threat and make sure the world is better prepared for the next pandemic. Let's talk about it. Sarah Pitt is a principal lecturer in microbiology at the University of Brighton. She's now joining us live from London. Madam Pitt, welcome to the show. Should the world be concerned by the emergence of bird flu?
Thank you for the invitation to be on your show. And I think the world should be aware that bird flu has been around for quite some time. This particular strain, which has moved from domestic poultry into wild birds, has been circulating for a couple of years now, actually, across the whole of the world. But these cases are in dairy cattle. That's the new thing that we haven't seen before. And so the USA and the WHO are actually raising awareness of this, just to make sure that people are aware that this might happen. We know that it happens. We know that bird flu is found in wild birds, and people are doing surveillance for that already. It's just being a bit more aware of the fact that it can get into other sorts of animals, particularly mammals.
Madam Pitt, the World Health Organization says humans face little threat from bird flu for now. But what sort of precautions should the world take to avert this flu from becoming another pandemic?
Well, it's true. And what we've seen from the USA so far is the human cases have been people with just eye infections and relatively mild. So that's something to bear in mind, although it sometimes bird flu infections in people can be very, very bad. But what we can do is make sure that we're aware of this kind of sources of bird flu where it can potentially pass to humans, and be much more vigilant about that, testing animals more, testing dead animals and screening animals who might be sick, to just make sure we are monitoring what the virus is actually doing, that the techniques available for there are widely available. It's not like we were during the beginning of COVID, where we were sort of trying to develop tests from scratch. The tests are available. They just need to be used more, probably. The other thing to bear in mind is that, unlike with COVID, we do have very effective antivirals which we can use to treat people, and there is also a possibility of developing a vaccine pretty quickly. The flu vaccines are used all over the world, and it wouldn't be very difficult to adapt the vaccines we have at the moment to a new strain of H5N1 if that became necessary.
Madam Pitt, talking about animals such as cows and cats are the latest target of this flu caused by migratory birds. In your view, what measures should the affected countries like the US implement as a priority, and which regions are highly vulnerable at the moment besides the US?
Well, in the US, I think what they should do is what they are doing, which is raising awareness and just monitoring cattle and making sure that farmers and veterinarians and public health planners are aware of the risk in cattle, because it's not been seen. This H5N1 has not been seen in cattle before now anywhere in the world. So it's taken us a bit by surprise. So we need to keep on top of that and be aware that it could be found in other animals, as you say, such as cats. And so what the other places in the world where there have been cases of human cases, there's one reported from Vietnam in March of this year. So where anywhere in the world is potentially vulnerable from this. So everybody should be just keeping an eye out for potentially unusual infections in animals, and just where we don't normally see bird flu, and just keeping an eye on everything, rather than we just be ready for anything. And any countries that have got their pandemic preparedness plans in place, which they should have, everybody should have now, right, after COVID, just be prepared to implement them when the time comes, if it comes.
All right. I've been talking to Sarah Pitt, who's a principal lecturer in microbiology at the University of Brighton. Madam Pitt, thank you very much for talking to us today.
Thank you.
For all the latest news, download the WION app and subscribe to our YouTube channel.